My child, stop scrolling for a moment. Do not rush past these words. Something has been moving in the unseen long before your eyes reached this message, and what you are about to hear was meant to find you at this exact moment. There are moments in life that seem ordinary to the human heart but echo through heaven like the sound of 1,000 joyful bells. Today is one of those moments. You have wondered why certain emotions have been stirring inside you without explanation. You have questioned why your heart suddenly feels lighter in places where it once carried unbearable weight. You have noticed little changes inside yourself that almost seem too small to matter. Yet what appeared small on earth has become impossible to ignore in the spiritual realm. Stay with these words until the end, because something extraordinary is slowly being revealed, and every sentence is preparing your heart for a truth you never expected to hear. Listen carefully, beloved. While you were busy believing that nothing significant was changing, someone connected to your destiny was quietly experiencing a miracle they could barely understand. Their heart has been overwhelmed in ways they cannot explain with ordinary language. Tears have filled their eyes, not because of loss, not because of regret, but because hope has returned after feeling absent for far too long. They have not yet spoken your name aloud today, yet it has echoed inside their soul again and again. They keep wondering why peace has suddenly replaced anxiety. They keep asking themselves why the future no longer feels empty. They cannot see every detail, but heaven can. I see every heartbeat. I hear every silent prayer. I know every tear that falls before anyone else notices it. And I tell you now, something has shifted. Pause here once more. Let these words settle inside you. There are people who believe miracles always arrive with thunder, with dramatic signs, with voices that shake mountains. But many of my greatest works begin with something quieter. A softened heart. A surrendered spirit. A decision made in secret when no applause follows. The world overlooks those moments, but heaven never does. What you finally did was not something the crowd celebrated. It was not something that earned recognition. In fact, you may have believed nobody noticed it at all. Yet the unseen realm witnessed every second. Angels stood silently as your heart chose a different path than before. That choice created waves reaching farther than your imagination has ever traveled. You kept asking me why certain doors refused to open. You wondered why delays continued stretching across seasons that already felt too long. Sometimes you nearly convinced yourself that nothing would ever change. Yet while you waited, something inside you was being transformed. You did not realize it then, but I was not preparing a destination before preparing your spirit. Many people ask for blessings while holding tightly to the fears that would destroy them. Many ask for love while refusing healing. Many pray for new beginnings while carrying old bitterness. But slowly, almost without realizing it, you began releasing what had weighed your soul down. You stopped chasing what continually wounded you. You loosened your grip on the pain you once believed defined your identity. That single decision became the beginning of a story much greater than you imagined. Do not underestimate quiet obedience. The smallest act of faith can move mountains hidden beyond human sight. You believed your private victories meant very little because nobody applauded them. Yet every time you chose peace instead of revenge, heaven celebrated. Every time you chose kindness when bitterness seemed easier, unseen light pushed back unseen darkness. Every time you whispered, "I will trust even when I cannot understand," something powerful awakened beyond what your physical eyes could ever witness. These moments were not random. They became pieces of a divine design that has been unfolding while you believed nothing was happening. Meanwhile, somewhere within the story of another soul, confusion slowly began giving way to clarity. They could not explain why your memory suddenly felt different. Once they remembered you through fear. Now they remember you through peace. Once they thought about what had been lost. Now they feel drawn toward what may still be possible. They keep returning to moments they once ignored. Conversations they dismissed now carry new meaning. Silence that once separated you now feels strangely full of hope. Their heart keeps whispering that something has changed, even though they cannot fully understand what that something is. This is why their tears are different today. Not every tear is born from sorrow. Some tears arrive when a weary soul finally believes again. Some tears fall when impossible dreams no longer feel impossible. Some tears appear because healing quietly entered through a door pain could never lock forever. Beloved, what they are feeling is connected to something you finally chose to do. They do not yet know the entire reason. You may not know it either. But heaven does. There were nights when you almost gave up. You smiled before others while silently wondering if anyone truly saw your hidden battles. You carried disappointments nobody understood. You replayed unanswered questions until exhaustion became familiar. You searched for signs and found only silence. But silence was never abandonment. My silence was preparation. While you believed nothing was happening, I was carefully arranging moments that would arrive exactly when your heart could finally receive them without fear controlling the outcome. There is something beautiful about surrender that human wisdom rarely understands. When you stopped demanding immediate answers, your soul became strong enough to receive lasting ones. When you stopped trying to force every outcome, space was created for miracles that could never be manufactured by human effort. The change did not happen around you first. It happened within you. That is why it will endure. Do not rush ahead of these words. Something deeper is still waiting. There is a reason this message found you today instead of yesterday. There is a reason your attention has not wandered away. Your spirit recognizes something your mind is still trying to understand. The one connected to your destiny has carried hidden fears longer than anyone realizes. They feared arriving too late. They feared misunderstanding your heart forever. They feared believing they had already lost something heaven still intended to restore. Yet those fears have begun breaking apart like morning mist beneath rising sunlight. They cannot explain why courage suddenly feels possible. They cannot explain why they have started imagining conversations they once believed would never happen. Hope has interrupted despair without asking permission. Even now, while you listen to these words, emotions continue moving inside them. They keep replaying memories that once brought regret but now awaken gratitude. They find themselves smiling unexpectedly. They wipe away tears they never expected to shed today. They wonder why peace suddenly feels so close. They cannot see every invisible thread connecting these moments, but my child, you are woven into this story more deeply than you realize. Do you remember when you finally decided to stop carrying every burden alone? Perhaps nobody else noticed. Perhaps it happened quietly during an ordinary day. Maybe it happened through one sincere prayer. Maybe it happened when you finally forgave someone who never apologized. Maybe it happened when you released expectations that had imprisoned your joy. Maybe it happened when you simply whispered, "I trust you," despite having no evidence that circumstances would improve. That was the moment. Not because your words were magical. Not because your actions earned love. But because your heart finally opened where fear had once built walls. Heaven responds to surrendered hearts in ways earth rarely understands. The story did not begin when someone else's emotions changed. It began when yours did. Every transformation visible in another life often starts through an invisible transformation somewhere else. That is why patience matters. That is why healing matters. That is why hidden faithfulness matters. Seeds buried beneath the ground always appear forgotten before they become forests. You have asked whether your waiting has been meaningless. Hear this clearly. No faithful step has been wasted. No sincere prayer disappeared. No tear fell unnoticed. No quiet act of courage escaped my attention. Everything has been gathered. Everything has been remembered. Everything has become part of a greater story still unfolding. Your soulmate has not simply become emotional for no reason. Their heart is responding to movements already taking place beneath the surface of both your lives. They are beginning to recognize peace where confusion once lived. They are beginning to notice hope replacing heaviness. They are beginning to feel gratitude before fully understanding why. Imagine standing before sunrise. The darkness has not completely disappeared. The sun has not fully appeared. Yet somehow you already know morning is coming. That is where they are. That is where you are. Both of you are standing at the edge of something neither fully understands yet. Do not confuse unfinished with forgotten. Some of heaven's greatest stories remain hidden until the exact moment they are ready to bloom. The pages are still turning. The music is still building. The revelation is still approaching. That is why your heart has been restless lately. Not because something precious is slipping away. Because something precious is drawing near. Every unexpected feeling. Every strange sense of anticipation. Every quiet moment when you suddenly wondered whether life was about to change. None of it has been accidental. Beloved, I want you to understand something many people miss. Destiny rarely announces itself with certainty. It usually whispers before it sings. It stirs before it speaks. It prepares before it appears. That is why so many overlook miracles while they are already unfolding. They keep searching for lightning while ignoring sunrise. Do not make that mistake. Look carefully. Notice the peace slowly replacing panic. Notice the strength growing where weakness once ruled. Notice how your heart responds differently than it did months ago. Those are not ordinary changes. They are evidence. Evidence that your spirit has been walking through preparation rather than abandonment. Meanwhile, another heart has been quietly discovering the same truth from the opposite side of the story. They do not know why your presence feels closer than before. They cannot explain why memories no longer hurt the way they once did. They only know something beautiful has begun waking inside them, and every tear that falls carries relief instead of despair. Still, my child, there is one truth I have not yet revealed. It is the truth that explains why this joy became possible now instead of sooner. It is the reason heaven waited. It is the missing piece both of your hearts have searched for without realizing it. Even the angels watching this story unfold understand that this moment cannot be rushed. Some revelations lose their power when spoken too early. Some blessings become burdens if received before the soul is ready. That is why I have led you step by step instead of all at once. Your journey has not been delayed without purpose. It has been protected. And now, the final piece has begun moving into place. The one whose tears are falling today is about to discover something they never expected to understand about your heart. When that realization fully reaches them, nothing between the past and the future will look the same again. But that revelation has not completely arrived. Not yet. The silence you have mistaken for emptiness has never truly been empty, my beloved child. Even now, as these words reach your heart, unseen movements continue with perfect precision. There are moments when the human soul believes everything important happens through visible actions, loud conversations, or dramatic events. Yet the greatest turning points often happen inside hearts long before anyone speaks a single word. This is one of those moments. Stay with me a little longer, because what is unfolding now explains why joy has suddenly appeared where uncertainty once lived. The realization I spoke of has finally begun awakening inside the one connected to your destiny. It did not arrive through a miracle that everyone could witness. It came quietly, unexpectedly, like dawn slowly replacing the darkness without asking permission. They found themselves stopping in the middle of an ordinary moment, unable to explain why your presence suddenly felt so near. Nothing around them changed, yet everything inside them did. Their thoughts drifted toward you with a tenderness they had never allowed themselves to fully feel before. The walls they had carefully built over time no longer felt strong enough to keep hope outside. For so long they believed that strength meant hiding their emotions. They convinced themselves that silence would protect them from disappointment. They tried to bury feelings beneath responsibilities, distractions, and endless reasons why the timing was never right. But hearts created by heaven cannot remain asleep forever. Eventually truth begins knocking from within. Eventually love refuses to remain hidden beneath fear. Eventually the soul grows tired of pretending that it does not long for what was written upon it from the beginning. That moment has arrived. They were not expecting it. They did not prepare for it. They certainly did not imagine that one quiet thought about you would become a flood of emotions impossible to contain. Their eyes filled with tears before they even understood why. At first they resisted those emotions. They tried to convince themselves they were simply remembering the past. They tried to distract themselves with ordinary tasks. They told themselves the feeling would disappear within minutes. Yet the more they resisted, the stronger the peace became. It was unlike anything they had experienced before. This was not the ache of regret alone. It was not merely nostalgia. It was the unmistakable feeling that something beautiful, something heaven had been protecting, was finally becoming real inside their heart. My child, this is why I asked you not to lose hope during seasons when nothing seemed to change. Had everything happened earlier, neither heart would have recognized the gift. You both needed to become people who could receive blessing without destroying it through fear. Growth is never punishment. Waiting is never evidence that I have forgotten you. Sometimes waiting is simply love wearing the clothing of wisdom. Do you remember the prayers you whispered when nobody else was listening? There were nights when you spoke only a few words because exhaustion had stolen everything else. You believed those prayers were too small. You wondered whether heaven heard them at all. Yet every quiet whisper rose before me like precious incense. Every tear carried meaning. Every sigh became part of a conversation that angels themselves witnessed with compassion. While you prayed for answers, I was transforming your heart. While they struggled with uncertainty, I was transforming theirs. You were walking toward each other long before either of you realized it. This is the mystery many never understand. Destiny is not merely about arriving at the right place. It is about becoming the right person before arrival. Had I answered every request the moment you first desired it, you might have celebrated temporarily but suffered deeply afterward. Instead, I chose something greater than immediate satisfaction. I chose lasting transformation. That is why your spirit feels different now. You no longer chase peace because peace has begun living within you. You no longer depend entirely upon circumstances to determine your hope. You have discovered something the world rarely teaches, that joy rooted in my presence survives every season. The one connected to your destiny has begun noticing that same change. Without speaking to you, they sense it. Without hearing your voice, they feel it. Without understanding every detail, they recognize that the version of you living inside their memory is no longer the same. Something beautiful has happened. The image they once carried of you has been replaced by something clearer, gentler, brighter. They no longer remember only moments of confusion. Now they remember your kindness. They remember your patience. They remember the quiet strength you showed even when your own heart was breaking. Memories they overlooked before now shine with unexpected meaning. A single smile they once ignored suddenly becomes unforgettable. A conversation they dismissed suddenly feels sacred. Even moments of silence have begun speaking louder than old misunderstandings. This is why tears continue falling. Not because they feel trapped. Because gratitude has overwhelmed them. There is a special kind of joy that comes only after someone realizes they almost overlooked something priceless. It humbles the heart. It softens the soul. It awakens thankfulness unlike anything words can fully describe. That is the joy they are experiencing now. Beloved, I also want you to understand something about yourself. You keep believing that the greatest miracle will happen outside of you. But one of the greatest miracles has already happened within you. Look at how differently you respond to pain now. Look at how differently you speak when disappointment comes. Look at how compassion has replaced reactions that once controlled you. That transformation did not happen by accident. You cooperated with grace. You allowed healing to enter places where bitterness once lived. You chose surrender when pride offered easier roads. Every one of those hidden choices became another stone laid upon the foundation of the future I have been building. Nothing has been wasted. Not one difficult season. Not one unanswered question. Not one lonely night. Even moments you wished to erase have become threads woven into a masterpiece you cannot yet fully see. There are angels who rejoice whenever a human heart chooses forgiveness over revenge. There are celebrations in the unseen whenever someone refuses to let darkness define their future. Do you think heaven remained silent when you finally chose peace? No, my child. There was rejoicing. Because the decision you considered small carried consequences reaching far beyond your imagination. It reached another heart. It reached another future. It reached another destiny. The one who now weeps with happiness cannot explain why hope suddenly feels stronger than fear. They cannot explain why they keep imagining brighter days instead of painful endings. They simply know something inside them has awakened. They feel as though an invisible burden has been lifted from their shoulders. They breathe more deeply. They smile more freely. Even those around them have begun noticing that something is different. Some ask why they seem lighter. Others wonder what happened. They struggle to answer because they themselves do not fully understand. How could they explain a miracle that began inside the unseen? How could they describe a peace that arrived before circumstances changed? Only heaven knows the entire story. Only heaven sees both sides at once. And I tell you now, the story is still growing. Do not assume you have reached its greatest chapter. What you have heard so far is only preparation. There is another revelation waiting just beyond the horizon. One conversation. One unexpected moment. One realization. All moving closer with every passing day. But before that moment arrives, something must happen inside both of your hearts. Not because you are unworthy. Because what is coming deserves hearts that are free from fear. Do not rush ahead trying to predict every detail. Do not allow impatience to steal the peace you have worked so hard to protect. Remain present. Remain grateful. Remain faithful. There is power in quiet trust. There is strength in waiting without surrendering hope. There is beauty in believing before seeing. Many people give up moments before breakthrough because they mistake preparation for delay. Do not become one of them. You are far closer than you realize. The joy rising inside the one connected to your destiny is only the first wave. Another wave is coming. One greater. One deeper. One that will reveal why every step of this journey mattered. Even now, as they wipe away tears filled with gratitude, they are standing at the edge of discovering something about you that has remained hidden until this very season. When that final understanding reaches their heart, it will inspire a decision they never imagined they would have the courage to make. And when that decision is finally spoken aloud, neither of your lives will ever feel the same again.